Yes, welcome back to the channel. So today we shall be creating a DoS attack script. So this is meant for education purposes. I know recently we did see a Cloudflare facing a major DoS. So I'm going to read you that is the specs of the DoS they did face. They faced recently a DoS that is having 29.7 terabytes per second in terms of request. That is the peak base. Then the attack reached 22 terabytes per second and 11.5 terabytes per second, among the largest seen to date. So this happened on earlier 2025. So on recent, that is on December 5, Cloudflare experienced a major impact. About 28% of its heat traffic. So the downtime lasted roughly 25 minutes. So you can imagine this is the scale of how DoS attack is being performed. So let's see how is this DoS performed. We shall use a script. We shall build a DoS script, and then we are going to study how these kind of requests are made, how these requests are normally set, and how the host is normally set. And also, then once we discover that, we shall also see the number of threads you can also set. And we shall be using only 4 modules. Just imagine, only 4 modules to perform a DoS attack. So this video is meant for educational purposes. It's meant to shed light on how a DoS purposes can heavily affect you as a web developer, as a user, just in case you have not put the right measures. So let's see how a DoS is performed. Let's create that script. And a disclaimer, this video is meant for educational purposes, meaning that even the script we create, you are not supposed to use it in an authorized environment, and I'm not liable for you to use that script in any way. So in any way you use that script, you are wholly responsible. We shall still pin the script in the comment section so that you can also go and look at it. And then notice we are really trying to equip ourselves to avoid this kind of attacks. So let's get into the video. Let's see what we can do for today, and I welcome you all. Thank you. Now let the music begin. So we shall be using that is Visual Studio Code. So on Visual Studio Code, I have those modules installed. So I'm going to list the modules that we shall be using. We shall import a couple of 5. So one, we shall import threading, we shall import OS, we shall also import that is time, and also we shall also import request. Then once with those modules imported, we shall begin, not request but socket, we shall begin that is to create the script. First import the module. Then one major thing we shall do with this script, we shall make it not executable unless you run the script itself. So you cannot really import it and execute it. So this is just meant as a disclaimer, so that the script is not used to hack other people's devices, because this is an education video. So I shall put that is if conditional statement, so that it limits that is one from executing the script in a remote way. We shall see how we do that. We shall then utilize classes. So we shall be building this using Python. So we shall be going through some various, even if you are new, I shall try to decode some various syntax in Python, how they are used, some various features in Python, that is classes, a conditional statement, that is if, else, and such. So let's see how we shall do that. Then we shall also build a beautiful color so that the script looks in a hacker mode. That is when you run it in the console, it prints very beautiful colors on it. So we shall see how we do that. We shall build all that also. And then also to mention what we shall also build. So the script is going to also contain that is the port input function, where you input the port you want to perform the attack from. So this is normally port 80 for the heat tip and port 443 for the heat tips. So those are the main targets that you find attackers will use. But also notice they can also do that is for the emails and such, depending on what ports are open on your server. So the attacker may decide to go for any ports that are open on your server. But mostly for this case, we shall be looking at the web server. It has got for heat tip a port 80, for heat tips a port 443. So heat tips, it's where we have got the secure protocol in place. Heat tip doesn't have the secure protocol in place. We shall be looking at that, don't worry. Then we shall also be having that is the user input section, where you input the host, where you also input the port. It gets the port, then the number of threads you want, then the IP. That is where we shall see how the socket import is utilized. Then we shall also have a class maybe to just showcase how the packet counter works. And then we shall have that is the main function to execute, that is the entire setup. So it shall gonna be interesting. And then once the entire setup is executing, we shall have that is some animations there, just to print out to the console to make you feel a much of the hacker kind of a feeling. So we shall begin by importing, that is our modules, that is our Python modules. In this case we shall use Python. So Python is very good for scripting. So allow me to begin by that is typing. So I shall begin by typing the import. So import, I shouldn't use capital letter, it should be small. So I shall import OS, import then I shall import that is a socket. Then I shall also import that is time. I also need time. Then lastly, not lastly but second last, I shall also import that is random for the random generation of the request. So I shall import random. Then lastly from, so this is where we shall now import that is threading. So we shall import, we shall say from threading import thread, so that we can be able to create the number of threads we want. So from threading import, so they should be capital T exactly. So just a comment is that above are the imports we shall use. So comments in Python are normally, you can decide to use that is the hash function. So next in our Python script, I shall do that is clear the terminal. So by clearing the terminal, that is where you shall use the OS import. So that is where we shall see that it is OS dot system. That is what is running on our system. Clear the terminal. So this is what we shall use to clear the terminal. So I shall begin by writing that. So how we do it is OS dot system. Then inside this function, we pass that is our argument or parameter as clear. So this clears the terminal. So I can say this clears the terminal. Then next, what we shall do after clearing the terminal, we shall then make this script not to be executable by calling it. Remember, you can create a script, then import that script into another code. So to do that, we shall prevent this, because this is an education purpose kind of video. So this is a safety measure. So we shall use the conditional if statement. So what we shall say, if then not. So then not here shall then go ahead and say name. Then we shall equate this to, so this one shouldn't run when imported. So main, then in my conditional, I'm going to exit this just in case someone tries to run it. Then we shall get out of that is the conditional statement if. Then what we shall do, we shall go ahead and print the console colors. So quickly, let's do that. So we shall use a class this time out. So this is a basic class, console colors. Notice the naming that I'm using here. So there are three types of naming of variables or kind of names you can give. You can either use the Pascal's case, you can either use the snake case. And then, so let's see how this we can do it. So what I shall do, I shall begin by defining that is the colors. So the header, what it shall have, that is the OK blue, OK green, fail and bold. So those are the things that we shall use. So let's dive in. I shall be explaining what some of the things here mean. So here I shall use such. So header, I shall just begin by declaring them in such a way. Then notice in Python we don't use semicolon, so indentation is what matters. Then after header, what I want to do is the OK blue, OK green, then I shall say a fail. I shall also talk about the warning. So we have OK blue, OK. Then lastly we must include that is a bold. So now what is left is for us to input the values, that is the string values. So I'm going to be explaining how these values mean. So allow me to put at the begin, so that we explain something that we are seeing 0, 33. Then I use that is the square bracket, and inside the square bracket I'm going to define that is this one as 95 95M, and then here should be small letter. So I'm going to explain what are these, what the code here means. So what it means is that now for the case of header, so that is a magenta color for the headers. So this is just to print a very beautiful text on the console. You normally see huge text on the console. How do we do that? That's what we are creating the class for. Then so the first 3, that is backslash then 033, that is what really I can use. That is the code that is used to change the color in your terminal. Then 95 M, that is magenta. Then 90, we shall use 94M for blue and such. So let's see let us write for the same here. So what we shall do, we shall copy this and replicate it into all this. So this is what we are doing to beautify the terminal colors. So used to create colors for the terminal. Perfect. Then for blue we can say 94, we can say this as 93, we can say this as 92. Then bold we can basically say this as 91, and then warning we can basically we can basically say that is 93. So we have header 95, 94, 93, 92. So this one I'm going to set it as 91. Then we shall begin to print, that is the statements from our function, from our class here. So the class here is color, it's console, not color but console color. So we shall begin by calling, that is elements that are inside the class, we normally refer them to as objects. So we shall begin by calling, that is the object. So one of the objects I want us to call inside here, it's bold and then warning. Then we shall join them, bold, then a console colors dot warning. Then also what else we shall need to do here, we shall also need to I need 6 of them. So we shall print, that is the beautiful text that shall now appear on the terminal. So hang on tight. So this one I'm not going to be very creative, so I'm going to copy what I had intended this to look like. Notice you're also going to have the same, so the same script that you can copy this. So with that being done, the next thing, so this is going to display that is the text that is a DoS tool. So DoS basically it's the short form of denial of service, and then this is what shall be displayed on the terminal. So once you run the script, you expect to see this, and then a selection of options for you to set, that is the post, the host, the number of threads. And so next, let us create that is the port input function. So creating, so we shall say creating the port input function. So here we shall use a function. So our function here, so allow me to scroll just a little bit up so we have more space. Our function here, we shall call it that is a get port. Then we shall begin by declaring a few things here. So we shall just use that is the try and except feature in Python. So what we shall do, what this function we envision it to do is that one, the function is to get that is the port number from the user with a validation. So it shall return port 80 by default. So in case you put port 443, that will work. Then in case the input is invalid, it shall default to port 80, which resort to hit tips. So what we shall do, we shall begin by saying try, and then inside our try block, what we shall then want to do is that we shall use P for the prompt. That is where the user is going to insert that is the port. So how we do this is that just below this, we shall come here and say P is equals to input. Then inside the input, this is the input function, so it allows you to input values into this. And then before the input, what we shall do, we shall use casting. So we shall cast this into an integer, then input, because notice that a port is an integer. So an integer is basically add to add from negative infinity to infinity. So now this integer, we are expecting an integer as a value, not a string. So an integer is basically like port 80. The number 80 is an integer. So that is what we shall be doing. Then what we shall say after input, we shall then that is call that is the console bold and okay green. So let's see how we do that. Console colors dot bold, then we shall say console colors dot okay green. Then what we shall then do after having those two well set, we shall then go ahead and now let the user input that is the port. So how we shall do this, we shall begin by just writing the port, and then so we shall use a string for this. So I'm going to make it more professional by having it written with a capital P. Then we shall read that. Then we shall also use that is a backslash. Then I think I should have used that /n. Then once that is done, we shall then proceed that is to return that is the value P, or return the given integer. So how we do that, we shall come out of this, and then below here, that is where we shall say that is a return P. Then below here we shall now come and accept. Then similarly, that is in case one inputs an invalid integer, this is where the port 80 should default, so that now the attack is performed using port 80. So let's write that code. Similarly, we shall also print the same. So what I shall now do, I shall have this, shall copy this in that section, Then oops, I did delete it, sorry about that. Then we shall have it the same, but now this, notice that this one shall have now warning. We shall use the bold, and then we shall use a warning because it's not okay, because someone has just used a very long port number. Then after that we shall then proceed to tell the user. So notice I'm using too many strings, so we shall modify this and tell the user that the error port must be a number. Then once it's a number, then set port to default, then set it as green. So port must be a number. In fact, I should say a natural number. Those are counting numbers that you normally use. Then set port to default, and then we are using concatenation here, if you, just in case you are wondering why these plus signs are too many. So this is what we call concatenation in Python. And then what we shall do is that I shall print, that is a console colors. Before even we do this, we shall come here and print the console colors dot okay green. Then we shall proceed, that is to set the port as 80. So I shall just pass the integer 80 in this case. Then similarly, what I shall do here, I shall also be returning port 80 as default. So this one is just easy, return that is 80. So that defaults to the default port in case the user didn't input the correct port. So let's go, and now that is setup, that is the user input section. So just below here, user input section. So at the user input section, we shall be setting, that is the host getting the port that we have just defined just on top. Then so we shall use, that is the get port function. So we shall call that function get the port. That is where once the function is called, it shall allow the user to input, that is the port they desire. If they put a wrong port, it defaults to port 80. Let's do that. So what we shall do, we shall now come and clear the host here, and inside the host, what we shall do, we shall then input similarly. So what I should have done here is the input function, and then so this one is giving us a color, it should be at that section. Then what we shall do under this, we shall have, that is the console. We shall still use concatenation, that is console colors dot bold. Then we concatenate this with console colors, then dot okay for blue. So this one, console colors dot okay. This time out, let's use blue. And then here, this is the section that we shall proceed to get the host. So the user shall see, that is the name host. Then here similarly, what we shall then do, we shall then use, that is the escape character R, and then we shall also use the escape character N. Then so basically notice what we are doing here. What we are doing here is basically allowing the user to input the host. So the host here may be a domain name. So the R here, that is the \R and the \N. So the \N moves, that is moving to the next line, that is the \N. These are called escape characters in Python. Then the \R, it's basically where the carriage or the move the cursor to the line start. So where the line starts, that's where you move the cursor to. That is basically what we are doing, using that is the \r and \n. Next, let us set the speed run, that is speed per run. So this is where we shall be using number of hits per run. So this is where you normally set the number of packets to send in a connection attempt. So we shall proceed by doing that. So before doing that, I think we need to first get that is the port. So what we shall do here, we shall get the port using the port function we defined. So in this case, I shall just come and write a port. Then we shall use that is the function get port, get rid of that, and that is our function. So this is the function we created here, get port. So we are calling the function, so we shall call that function. Next, let us now set the number of hits per run, or the number of packets that are going to be sent. So how we do that, we shall use a good name. So I can just create that is a name, speed per run. So I'm using the camel case. So what is the difference between camel case and Pascal's case, and also the snake case? We said there are 3 types of way. So the camel case, notice the S here is small, the P here is in caps, and the R here is in caps. This is what we call the camel case. The snake case, so if it's the snake case, I should have used speed, then I use an underscore, then I say per, I use an underscore run. This is what we call the snake case. Then the Pascal's case, it's where I use capital S and say speed, then I say capital P for per, and then R for run. That is what we call the Pascal's case. So enough of those kind of naming. So I just wanted us to be on the same page, just in case you are new in Python. That's what that kind of naming means. Then in this, we shall of course use an integer. So if we want this one to say like 20 packets, 20 is an integer. So let's do that. So here we shall use casting. So we shall use int. Then here we shall get the user input. So we should use the input function. And then once we have the input function, of course we want to print the beautiful class that we did create. That is using for in our console, using the class that we created, that is the console class. So we shall be calling those objects here. So remember, for you to run classes, you need to know a class has got objects in it. And how do you reference those objects? This is how you do it. You use the class name console class dot, of course you are using bold. You concatenate this with console class, then dot, and then this time round we shall be using header, and then we shall also no, we have not used the header, we shall concatenate that. So the plus here is acting as a concatenation. Then we shall want to enter, to tell the user to what to enter. So we shall give a label to that. So the label here, of course, shall be a string. So this one will be hits per run. Similarly, we shall use that as our escape characters. So once again, we said that these escape characters, that is \r and \n. So \r, it's where it moves to the start of the line. \n moves to the next line. So come on, if you are in the top line, use \n, move to the line that is below that. So to the next line. Then \r, this is where you begin at the start of the line. So it may seem as if I'm explaining too much, but it's just for us to get it. Then, so with that being said, so we have set the number of hits per run. That is where what we shall use to collect from the user. Next, let us set the threads. So we shall say threads. So under threads, of course, this one shall also be an integer. So we shall say int. We shall use casting here. Then input. Then inside input, we shall then use console chorus dot bolt, concatenate this with console chorus dot. So in this case we shall use a warning. Then let's see, concatenate this. So this is what we want the user to input. So the name they shall see printed on the screen shall be thread count. Thread count like that, backslash r backslash n. So that one should be in that way. So with that being done, next we shall go to, that is, utilize the socket module import that we used. So the socket module, what we shall do is to resolve, that is, the host name to an IP address. So in our case we are using News, which is the channel's official website. So how do we resolve the domain name News to an IP address? That is why we use sockets. Let's do it. So we shall say IP is equals to, resolve this domain name into that is get the host name. So remember we had set the host name there above. So we shall say a socket, then dot what we shall do, because we want to resolve, that is the domain name, we shall, that is get host by name. I don't know if that is here, get host by name function. And then inside it we shall now call this host variable that we had defined. Notice when you are writing the variable, when you are calling, that is a variable that you had defined, you don't normally make it a string because it's a variable. Just a tip. So that is how we solve, that is the IP address to that is the domain address to an IP address. Next we shall then generate random bytes to send to the site that we shall be attacking. So how we do that, we shall create just a small variable byte to send. So allow me to use, that is the camel keys. So byte to send. So the byte to send here we shall use, that is the random. Let me call them bytes because they shall be many. So we shall say a random, because we shall be generating these ones randomly. It's not that we shall code them somewhere and then relay pass them. These ones are randomly generated because they can be as many as possible, and that is the main objective of a DoS attack, sending as many packets as possible. So what we shall do, we shall utilize, that is the u. I'm looking for u random. Since the hints aren't aware of this, then what I shall do here, I shall set it to, so we can set this to, the maximum packet size. So the packet size, so we basically have approximately, that is 2450, the maximum packet size. So remember that data is transferred in the internet using what we call data packets. So a data packet has got the characteristics in it. One, it has to have, that is the sender, it have to have, that is with receiving, all those kind of, then the content. So that data packet, the size of it, we shall be setting it to the near maximum, that is 2450. So let us type that 2450. So with that in place, that is a random dot underscore urandom. So that means we have already set the that is the maximum packet size. So then we begin with the famous loops. We normally use I, or you can use J. So in this case, let us use I. Set I as 0. Then what shall we do with this? Then let us create, that is a class to count the number of packets that we have used. So let us do that. So class. So in this class, I'm going to call it a class count, and then inside this class count we shall have that is the packet counter set to 0. So once our packet counter is set to 0, and in this case I think I'll be using that is the camel case. So once we have that, we shall then proceed by creating the main function to perform that is the attack. So remember this, why we are setting it to 0 is that we want this shared across all the threads. So all the threads, if you define like 20 threads, you want all these packets shared across all those threads, so that each thread is actively sending packets. So now let's create the main function. So we shall say def, because this is how we define function. Then we shall say that is we shall use a fancy name. So what I'm thinking is that we can use that is go for DoS that thing. So you can say go for DoS that thing, and then so with that function in place, we shall then use that is the try and except. So try, then inside our try, so this is where most of the code lies, but it isn't much. We shall come and say that while true, we shall use that is the while loop, that is while true, we want to perform an action. So when this function executes and everything works as well, so we shall then say that is a DoS socket. So notice we are using too much of the camel case here. Then we shall then say that is a socket.socket. So let's see dot socket, and then what we shall be passing inside this is a socket.af. So this is creating, what we are basically doing here, it's basically we are creating a new TCP socket for each connection attempt. So TCP means a transmission control protocol. So how we do that is that we use socket.socket, then inside here we shall be passing that is a socket dot. So you see a couple of them here, but in this case we shall be using that is af dot. So I'm using af, I'm looking for init, this one. So we shall be using that as one, comma, then socket dot. Then next what we shall be using is sock string. So I'm looking for sock string, so this one. So those are the two that we shall be using. So the two we are using for them to using this for us to be able to create that is a TCP, to create a new TCP connection. So what the AF underscore init means, this is for IPv4 addressing, because most of them don't use IPv6. Then the sock underscore stream is for the TCP socket type. So that's why we are using that. Then after this, we shall then utilize that is the try. Not so we shall utilize that is try, and then the try should be in the same. Yeah, so it's okay. The indentation is okay. Then we shall that is perform that is DoS socket dot connect, then IP and the port. We shall pass that is these two that we gave here. So what we shall do, we shall then that is DoS socket, then we shall pass that is the IP, and then we shall also pass that is the port. So before even I do this, I think I should have passed that is connect, because we need to first connect to that. Then I pass the IP. Then so the IP is this one, then we shall pass that is the port, So having passed those two, the IP and port, and these ones I should have put them, they should have been in a tuple. So I'm going to use a tuple for these two. Yeah, just like that. Then so the tuple is basically an immutable data storage in Python. So you have got tuples, you have got lists, you have got dictionaries, and then so the way you write tuples, you use that is the two bases. So braces are these marks that look like curves in a way. Then once we have passed that, we shall then come and do that is a condition. We shall use that is a loop. So we shall use the for loop in this case. Remember we had defined I in our previous somewhere we had defined I, so that is what we shall do. Now we shall also be using, so for I, so for I in range, so the range here we want to do, that is the speed paran range. So speed, so when our I is in this range, so this is meant to send multiple packets per connection. That is why we are using that is for I in the range as speed paran. So then we shall proceed by getting out of this, and then what we shall then do, we shall then go that is to do that is the try and except, and we shall print a couple of statements here. So method 1, so under the try, shall use two methods. So the method 1 is we shall that is do the DoS socket dot. Then what we shall use here is set. Then what we shall be setting here is string dot encode, that is str dot encode. Then what we shall then be doing, that is get. So I think I should also pass this. This should be a function. Then what we shall be passing here, it's get. How do I want to put it as a string in that way? So this is the method 1. We shall be sending via TCP connection, and let us concatenate this. Bytes to send, then the bytes to send, then we shall also concatenate that is a string. So our string here dot encode. Then similarly what we shall be passing here is the heat. Then this heat tip, we shall be passing it as /1.1. So then we shall then escape this. So don't worry about these red errors we are getting. So we shall be resolving once we close that is the except feature. Then this one shall be set to then in our set to what we shall then do string dot encode the same I should be passing this as caps. Then next plus similarly bytes to sed, then string dot encode then we shall then pass our IP and the port. Then next, so that is our second method. So the second method, you may be wondering what we are doing. So the second method is we shall send that is via UDP. That is our UDP like method on the same packet. So that is it's ineffective with TCP socket. So just to notice that the line that is said to is for UDP, and then that is but socket is for TCP. So with that we shall then print a success message just in case that went into what we wanted. So how we do that, so let's come and print. So our success message shall be in two cases. So I shall want to print that is the console colors.board. So we are using this because we want to beautify our console. Then next, after I have board, I can say console colors.okay green, because that is a success. And then lastly, what I shall want to say, just a simple animation. So plus, then I can have that, and then I can have that is the less than sign. Then I can have that is the packet this way. Then lastly, this is where I should be passing that is the two, if it's a success or if it's a fail. So what I shall do, I shall say that is console colors dot a fail. So in case it's a fail, so I want to concatenate this, that is with the string and the packet counter str dot, so str, then for you then use this I think I should use count dot packet counter. Then what we shall then be adding after this is, just in case it's a success, so the console color here should be green. Then similarly, so what I forgot to do, so this one I think we shall not let us not use this, but instead print a statement here. So what I shall print here, I shall print that is successful. And then to have it look nice, So I noticed that my screen is moving way towards the end. So let us finalize this by having that is the count fail. Then we shall utilize the time what time was that, when did it fail, and then the console color for green. So how we shall do that is that we shall have that is the console colors dot fail. Then from the fail, let us have the time pass. So time here, I shall use time dot str, and then what we shall choose here, we shall use that is from time, that is f time. Then we shall define how that time should look like. So for the definition of this, so I'm going to not going to write it, but I'm going to, I had searched in Google one of the best ways to write that. So we shall have that is the day, the month, the year, the hour, minute, and seconds. Then we shall then, so that is what this means. Then after that, we shall then have that is time dot GMT time. Then after we have defined this, and this it's a function, before I forget. So then after we have defined this, we are going to also to add that is the console, okay, color for green. So one thing here I seem to have messed is that this one should be in that kind of way. Then let's get rid of that. Not really. So that when we have this, so this bracket is what is crossing this and the time function. So I'm to concatenate from this end. This console paras dot okay green. Then when it's okay green, what we shall want to print here, I shall want to print that is the greater than sign and a couple of hyphens. So that is going to form that is our print statement on that. And then we shall then increment the global packet counter. So how we do that is count. We shall count dot packet counter. I shall do that dot, this count should be count dot packet counter. So in this packet counter, what we shall then do, we shall assign it, that is count dot packet counter, and then we shall increment this by 1. So that's it for this section. So what this does is that it increments that is the global packet counter. So let's begin by crossing this by using the except socket error, and the except that is in case the user interrupts with the keyboard. So those are the things that we shall now be setting right after this. So we shall, so the except should be in the same block as the try. So that means we shall come to this and except. So you begin to see that this one shall begin to we shall get to stop that error. So under this except, what we shall do is socket. Then under this socket, what we shall then call is the error. Then below here, what we need to set here is to print that in our console. So console chorus dot board, concatenate that. We shall concatenate it using the console chara.warning. Then we shall go ahead to input the kind of warning we want. So this one, you shall be seeing these lines when the script is running. So this one shall be indicate error, the host may be down. So that is in case there are too many packets that have been sent and there is nothing, there is connection timeouts and such, or connection resets. So that is what we expect to see, or just in case the host is actually down. Then let us now put an except where the user interrupts using the keyboard. So for us to do that, it shall then be a keyboard interrupt input. So under this interrupt input, so we shall print similarly console chorus dot board plus console chorus dot fail. Let us use fail in this case. And then what we shall then set is that is we shall then say is that this was cancelled by the user. So how well do we display that even without adding any other thing? You can say a plus sign, and you can say cancelled by the user. So with that, we have added 2 exceptions. Yeah, so next after we have that is the last exception. So the exception is where the user cancels, that is using the keyboard input. So we shall then go, I shall then close that is the socket after attack loop. So the loop here we have used for loop. So let us close that socket. So it shall be this simple. So how we close the socket, so the indentation here should be still there on the same line as the except. Do a socket, then what we shall do is that we shall pass that is a close function. So that's the first bit. Then let's come and handle that is the except keyboard interrupt. So I know this may seem as if it's a repetition. So but this is where the user interrupts, that is for the outer loop. So how we shall do that? We shall come and that is literally come out of the first, that is literally come out of this DoS, and this except shall align with the while loop. So because we are closing that is this while loop, so our except shall go here. And now what we shall do under this except, it shouldn't sorry about this, what I should, so the except here should come because we are closing the try, so should come under this. So now we shall pass that is our except here, and then under this except, we shall then pass that is the keyboard interrupt. So let me do that. Then what we shall then proceed to print is that that is the connection errors, or basically literally just say that this one was cancelled by the user. It's that simple. So print then we use that is the console colors dot board, not continue but console dot board, concatenate this with console colors dot. So in this case we shall then use fill, and then string. We shall concatenate with a string. So the string here shall just contain the message that this relay didn't go through. So we package this in our programming way. So we shall use square bracket just to make it nice. Then we shall say cancelled by the user. So this is similar to what we have here. So you can basically copy this and have it similarly as to what we have it in that part. Now that we have added that is the first loop, now let's come to the main execution block. So the main execution block is where we shall have that is the try. So our second try here shall come to this far edge. So this try shall be in line with that is the function. So notice this function, and then we shall have that is the try under this. So this will form our main execution block, and then we shall print that is very nice console color. So this is where the attack begins. So that is the code we are now writing, console colors dot, and then okay brew, and then once we have this we shall go to add the message we want to print on the screen. 1 2 3, it should be 6. So after 3, so I'm not really going to struggle with this, so I'm going to copy this from a section I had before written it, because I was also looking for a way to make this video as interesting as possible. So I really had to come up with very nice good looking colors. So we shall now begin to write the code to show that the attack has begun, because what shall be displayed on the screen is that attack starting. Then we want to show that is the loading progress bar. So how we do that, these are basic animations that we shall use, that is print and time to create them. So we shall begin by printing. So this one I shall be maybe quite fast. Console.colors, then of course board, then console.colors, and then after console.colors, okay green. So green means that everything is working as expected. Then after this we shall proceed to show that is loading, and then after the loading we shall want to show that indeed loading has begun, and we shall use a list. So in this list we shall then come and maybe set some spaces, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20. Then after 120 spaces we shall want to show that it's at 0%. So this is what the first animation to show that the initial loading has begun. Then after this we shall sleep this animation for a while. So time dot sleep. Then once we sleep this, we shall pass the number of seconds we want this to sleep as 1. And then so I shall copy this and multiply them by 3. So ours shall be just adjusting. So the other kind, let us put them to 0, 25, 50, 75 and 100. So those are 5. So that is 5 of them. So let's see, we have 3, 4, 5. So what we shall do, 0, 25, 50, 75 and 100. So this is to showcase that is some kind of progress. Then what we shall be doing, we shall now come and add some equal sign. So the equal sign for this should be 20 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20. Then this one we can showcase like, if we are showcasing 20 of them, this one we can showcase like 15 of them for this one. 1, 2, I shall do this one. I can showcase 10 of them. And then this one I can showcase 5 of them. Exactly. So now that creates a very beautiful animation. So once we are done with the animation, we shall then come to execute the for loop. Notice we are towards the end, so the long journey is ending soon. So we shall use the for loop. So for I, and in this case our I here is in range of threads, in range, then threads. So what we shall want to do, so for our I in the range of threads, we shall want to try, that is create a new thread. So depending on the number of threads, and then handle that is in case the user interrupts using the keyboard. So we shall begin by setting the try, and below here except. So under the try here, this is where we shall proceed, that is to say that is a t. We shall define a variable t is equals to thread. So the thread here we shall be using, it's what we imported. So we shall be using that thread, and then we shall be passing, that is the target. So after this function, target is equals to DoS. That is go for the DoS thing. Then t, we shall then start this. So how we do that, t dot start. So the attack shall begin at that point in case the user interrupts with the keyboard. So this is how we shall be handling it. So we shall handle, that is a print, just print a statement to tell them. Of course we use the console.chorus. And also the one, and then the message which I want to tell them. So you can basically copy the same message here, just to keep it minimal and uniform. Now I think up to that we should now be able to run our script, and then once we run the script, we should be able to be in a position. But I can see we have some couple of errors here. So some of the errors we are facing. So let's see. So we have got this section. So we closed this, so we didn't close this. So how we shall counter that? We shall come counter that by this, and then we shall come and counter this. So we have got that try. We need to close the try and except for this. Okay, I see where we messed. So we have got this one is cancelling this. So this should be so what we shall do, so this one is okay up to that, so this is closing this, but we shall have this, we shall copy this, and then once we copy that, we shall use it to we shall really use it to close that is this section. So I'm going to copy this, then I shall use it to close this block. Why is this not copying as I want? Control C, then I close this one. So that comes to that point, and this comes to that point, and then this one should be gotten rid of. So now we have got this to resolve. So how we resolve this is our except here. So we have got the first try, but we did close the outer block. So how we shall do that, we shall still use this, but now in this case we shall be closing the outer block. So that should work fine. So let's see. Did you mean name? So what we shall do, so I get to see if not underscore name, so there should be a space here, because that's what I meant. So let's see. Perfect. So now we can see our tool is working as perfect. So there was a couple of errors here, so I forgot to detach that. So the host here we shall say as news. Press enter. The port is port 443. Press enter. Hits per run I shall say 10, and then the red counter I shall say 1, and then we shall see the tool acting as we expected, and then so that's how it performs. So in case you want to get aggressive, you can load this, then host similarly. Port 443 for hits per run I may put 1000. Number of counts I may put the red counter as 50. So this is running, but what we should be seeing, that is we should be seeing the requests being made. So let's see. So let's go through the script once again. So the import is okay. Do you have the exit in place? Yes. The console, that is okay. Get the port, that is okay. We need to get that is the port. Try and accept. So is this working as expected? Is it defaulting to port 80? So it's returning port 80, then host input. This way input the host, we get the port that we have just input there. Then speed per run, so that is working as okay. So this is where we need to see this being put. I think I'm putting too shallow, so let me make it more complex. News.com port 443. Yeah, so what I'm looking for, what we should be seeing, that is the it sending the packet. So what we are currently not seeing is the packet being sent. So So what we shall do, so we shall create this file, or maybe let's check if that website is if it's live. So it should be so let's check if the website itself is arrived. So I'm going to go to the browser. So we shall be using Tor. So under here, that is where we shall check if our website is still arrived. Okay, continue to hit it. Okay, so that could be the reason, but I still have another website. So that could be the reason. So what we shall do, let us go back to VS Code. So in this case, what we shall do, so let us run again, and this time let us use my other domain. Yeah, so you can see that now this works because this site is. So I shall press Ctrl C to do a keyboard interrupt. Then let's run this again, but now this time we shall use the channel's website. Then after using the channel's website, let us use port 80, and let us use 1000, and let us use 1000. Yeah, so this now works. So this is how the script, this is how we envisioned the script to work. So some of the changes that we have made is to make this one have a good color. So that is how a DoS script works. So once again, so this is how the script looked like. So we have gone through, that is multiple steps of the script. We have seen how you get the port, how you can use port 80, port 443, that is to really perform the DoS attack. Then notice how much this script. So this script, I'm going to pin it, that is in the comment section, not really in the comment, but still in the description, so that you can just scrutinize, see how much you can advance it. Now let's come to the second part of the video. So our second part of the video is discussing how do we now actually stop these attacks. Yes, so in the second part of the video, this is where we shall be looking at the prevention of the DoS attack. We have seen it to a skill that you can really perform that. That is you as a cybersecurity expert. So that is how normally it's done. But notice that there are some more advanced scripts that can do that. So this is just meant for, that is, education purposes. So of late we heard that is Cloudflare having an attack that is in this year 2025 as per recording of this video. So we shall be looking at Cloudflare and seeing the kind of traffic they did get. So we shall begin to search that in the same, and then we are going to see and just try to understand to the skill at what led Cloudflare having that kind of huge downtime. So let's go to the browser. So we are searching Cloudflare, and then we shall DoS attack, specify the kind of attack. So allow me to zoom in for your comfort. So what I can do, I can zoom out this, or I can basically zoom in so that you can see it. So we shall be looking at the Hardening. So we shall open this in the new link tab. Then we shall zoom in also. So this one shows that Cloudflare received 29.7 terabytes per second of data. DoS attack linked to Isolus botnet with up to 4 million infected hosts. So we have seen in our script how you set up the host. We have seen how that is. You set the number of threads, you set the number of threads, and then you said how you even set the packet size. That is why we set 2450, the largest amount of packet size. Or each packet size has got the maximum size. So we set it to near maximum. Then we can also see the number of threads that we did make. So the huge the amount of threads, that means the more it is able to send as many packets as possible. Imagine that Cloudflare phase that is 29.7 terabytes per second. So you can imagine what scale that was done. So what happened after they phased this? So the 29.7 terabytes per second was a UDP. Remember we talked, we did see how we set up that is UDP and TCP was a UDP, carpet bombing attack, bombarding on an average of 15,000 destination ports. We also seen that in our case we have only used that is port 80 and port 443, where you as the user you could set that in the script. So basically, what do we learn from this? What we learn is that our DoS attack are much alive, and if they can affect such a huge company such as Cloudflare, then you can also imagine what they can do to you. So one way you can prevent this, I know it may sound funny, is that you need to point your DNS to Cloudflare, because Cloudflare has got the mechanism to stop this DoS attack. So one way, let your traffic pass through Cloudflare, that is one way. So the way you do that is you have to point your DNS to Cloudflare, and it will also help in mitigating those kind of attacks, especially if you are using that as well. Then the other ways, of course, you can block the IP address that is doing the same. I know there are some sophisticated scripts that you can find it hard to do that, because they use a random, or you can use multiple infected computers and send the request at once, which is basically what DoS does. Then what Cloudflare said is that we have encountered another where DoS attack have rapidly grown in sophistication and in size beyond anything we could have imagined a few years ago. So this is what Cloudflare was saying. So that is what I wanted us to look in this channel. So in this, remember we normally focus much on cybersecurity. So today what we have done is the DoS attack, how they are performed, into what scale, created a dummy script to do that, and notice that script is really low. Don't use it in an unauthorized website. So that is it. So next I will submit when we shall be looking at the latest news update. So this channel is also, I also share that is the latest news update, just to keep us in tech, in advanced tech way, especially in terms of threats, so that we remember security is very critical now that most of the systems are online. So that is the main focus of this channel, to get us updated. So thank you. I will catch you in the next one. Thank you.